And then after that, I said to them, for me, I want to go on to be sort of head of agronomy or head of estates and potentially set up my own agronomy business in 30 years time, and go on a consultancy basis because I'm interested in it and I want to learn my trade and I want to do that over the next sort of 30 years. But after that, I'd like to kind of be able to go and help people essentially, and have an understanding in which I can do that. But you can also then go into, there's jobs within the RNA and everything from, especially in a college-based and sustainability base, it's becoming so huge now within the industry, reduce pesticides. And I think we'll have, more sort of hosepipe bans going forward and everything in terms of the water we can use. So it's, future-proofing that. But then you could get involved in that with the RNA and everything. There's things like Golf England as well. Obviously things like yourselves, Pitch Care and, Toro, or, there's anything out there in which you could have an interest in. And because you're a greenkeeper, you've got that foot in the door. And I don't think, like you said, a lot of them come up and say it's grass cutting, which it starts with that. Absolutely. One of the first things you might do is that and raking bunkers. And you might do that. But I think it's making sure that when you have an apprentice start on a golf course as well, they might be young, they might be inexperienced, but give them that opportunity straight away. You have a kid raking bunkers for 6 months. I know if that was me, starting out obviously at 27, I probably got a little bit more leeway with it. I was cutting greens within my first week there. So it's like, I got that, but I was also wanting that. So I think it's encouraging these kids once they come into it, and saying, right, you'll get this opportunity early on, and just giving them that chance, basically. I don't think we maybe give apprentice greenkeepers as many chances as we need, and maybe there's a slightly different setup we need, but like I said, a list of different golf clubs or something, but it's making that pathway into the industry, making that a little bit easier. A lot of the problem sometimes as well is, we can only communicate so much. But things like, this, hopefully, things like newsletters and things out to members on the golf course and everything to say, this is the reason you've got this disease growing up on, showing up on the course. This is because of the weather conditions that we've had in the last sort of, couple of months. This is what we're doing about it. We're not kind of being dishonest about anything. It's literally saying, this is what we've got going on. We accept that's the case. We're skinning grass down to levels that it's not particularly happy at. We have to feed it, we have to water it, we have to keep it, at what it wants to be at. It'll tolerate it, but there's always going to be the chance of these diseases and everything coming up, and not playing quite to the standard that we want. And we've got, a couple out there at the minute in which, sort of it's been a bit of a problem, but not too many. And it's making sure that, I think, just the awareness out there. Yeah. And that communication, within your team, but also out to your members. And it might be, holding sort of once every couple of weeks, just something within the clubhouse and something quite informal. A small presentation on kind of some pictures of the course as it is at the minute. Any issues we've identified, so like members and everyone can see exactly what we can see out there, and we are kind of on top of it and why we're on top of it. But yeah, that communication, I think I come back to it and I probably batter on about it all the time to anyone I'm speaking to, but that's absolutely key to that success of anything really, but especially when it comes to golf courses. Yeah, I think anyone in any industry, not just golf or anything, customers essentially that aren't particularly happy with certain things, but that's a matter of opinion at the end of the day, and everyone's got an opinion and everyone's entitled to an opinion. So it's making sure everyone's heard as well. These members maybe who aren't particularly happy at certain things happening, if you've explained why you're doing it, and it's gone forward in terms of your committee and everything and being approved in terms of what you're doing, then you've done your job as best you can and you've communicated as best you can, and that's as much as you can do really. I think sometimes it can be taken quite personally, and that's where it's hard as a course manager, and I'm certainly not in that position yet, and I hope to be one day. But it can be hard because you can take things personally, especially the amount of work. We know what we do out there, and the amount of time it takes to do these things. But one thing's wrong and a kind of a comment's made, and I think that's why we just have to know, right, it's a comment at the end of the day, and it's always going to come, and regardless, it's just making sure that if you're the course manager of a club or anything, or deputy or first assistant or whatever it might be, making sure that the team are recognised for the work that they're doing, and appreciated for it really, because that's what makes a happy team and what will really kind of make a good golf course essentially. And like you said about the long rough, we've got did have a lot of it out of there until about yesterday, and then we started cutting it down and stuff, but it's got to be done. That's why it was put out on Twitter on our green staff page yesterday to say we're going out with the Amazon, we're going out and sort of cutting, scarifying it, collecting it, with that idea that that'll thin it out again for the next year. And them first 3 years, I think when you're trying to do that and you're trying to establish it, it's horrendous. It's one of them where people are losing balls still, and they're going to be frustrated at it and everything, especially when it's never been there before. But cutting wall to wall compared to having these long roughs in which it obviously saves a lot of time, saves in terms of, we've got mainly diesel machinery or, petrol machinery and everything here. We'd like to move electric going forward and everything, but it's obviously a matter of budgeting and everything as well. But the fact that, like you said, you can create these habitats and everything from an ecology aspect, saving time and everything. It is important from a sustainability point of view. I think more and more golf courses definitely need that, and it might take quite a bit of time, but communicating why we need that on the golf course, and like I said, the trial we're doing out there with the yellow rattle at the minute, so like a parasitic plant, that should eat away at the kind of roots of the perennial ryegrass and some weeds out there and everything. And again, it's not going to work perfectly in the first year, but we've had a really good germination rate. We're going to trim that down, leave the seed in the ground, hopefully to kind of spread further where it is this year. And then by next year, that'll be the end of the 2-year trial. And then we can basically see where we're at. And then if we think it's worked, we can go and sow that in different areas. People, at the end of the day, if the ball goes in there or anything, some of it will get disturbed and damaged, but at the end of the day, we've got more pollinators out there with yellow rattle than we have with, say, just the fescues and stuff. And both of them are great, but if we can have different areas and, different wildflower patches and maybe some kind of rare orchids coming through or anything as well, that's hugely beneficial from an ecology point of view. It's certainly pride, and you can probably tell from the first picture that was taken. It was like, what was put on Twitter. It was like literally beaming from ear to ear, and it was right. It was, it was spot on. I was, made up to win the award, and I think for me, it is from a recognition point of view as well, and because of the hard work I'd put into it, and knowing that I'd gone through the industry through this sort of, career path in which I'd done different things to make sure that I was sort of educating myself, going through and meeting these different people and networking and everything as well. And that kind of brings me up to going for Toro and Greenkeeper. But yeah, I think it's hard because we'll always get recognition from the team ourselves and everything, and you'll certainly get recognition from some members and everything. But obviously, some are here to play the golf and go home, which is fair enough. You're always going to get sort of different different people within a golf course and within any industry really. But I know for me, when I won it, obviously got. My phone went a bit mad for like a day because it was like getting all these different messages through. But from course managers that I'd worked with John and Johnny, and then Chris here and everything, the group that we've got on WhatsApp between all of us together here and everything, like coming through from that family, like my wife, my mum and dad, and everything, and then it was like basically Greenkeepers that I'd done Future Turf Managers Initiative with. We've still got that group on WhatsApp and everything. And all of a sudden that went mad, and it was saying. So I think the recognition still comes from the actual industry itself and the greenkeepers involved in the industry, and the course managers and everything. The recognition from outside of that, to be fair to the club, they put that on the Twitter, on the Facebook and everything and stuff. And I got, real congratulations, and they've been really supportive over it, which is really important because going forward, there's obviously a lot of time off for different things as well. So from the secretary point of view, from Chris's point of view, they've been really, really supportive over it, which is massively important for me. And again, I think it's, we're going to put the trophy in the clubhouse. They want that in there, and kind of put maybe the magazine, like, Pitch Care and sort of the bigger magazine and stuff next to it, to kind of give people an idea maybe of what it was about, why we go for it, giving a greater understanding of what the industry is, as opposed to, like you said, cutting grass.